G'day Bomber fans, it is Wednesday, it's a fantastic day, the sun is out, it's a 10 out of 10 day of the week, but even better, it is draft day, Christmas for us nuffies, it is a beautiful time to be alive. So for the final day of this build-up, we're going to be doing a monster preview. I'm going to be yapping on, I'll be talking about absolutely everything there is to talk about. Pick swaps, moving up the order, moving down the order, the players we could be taking, the players we're linked to, Kako, Jayden Nguyen. I'm going to even predict who we take in this draft. It's a massive preview coming up, and before I get started, I know this is going to upset a few of you. We're going to bring it down a notch here, a somber note, because you heard how hyped I was, obviously, but my good friend Rowan, he has planned a birthday dinner for tonight, which means I actually will not be watching the first night of the draft live, but I guess we should be wishing him a happy birthday, so happy birthday, Rowan. Feel free to roast him down in the comments because he is a Crows fan. I don't expect you guys to be nice to him, but yeah, preview time, lots to get through. Let's get right into it, a lot of yapping to do. Alright, so let's start by looking at our current draft hand and seeing what changes could be made to it on draft night, because that's definitely a possibility. So on screen we have the 2024 draft picks and the 2025 draft picks. So this year we have picks 28, 31, 40, 46, 53, 54, and 65. It sounds like we got a lot, but we are going to be taking 4, maybe 5 players this draft, 2 of which will be attached to our academy. So most of the picks on screen will either be used in matching a bid for an academy player, Kako and Jayden Nguyen, or traded away to another club. So let's look at the selections we could be using, starting with 28 and 31. Now, on the night, we are going to be watching like a hawk, and the later it goes that Kako is unbidded on, around that 13 to 14 range, we're actively going to be trying to trade away those picks, and in return, get a future second rounder. The clubs want to be involved in this draft. They will be wanting to trade into it, and we will realise that we can match a Kako bid without needing both of those selections. So rather than waste them, we'll be trying to trade one away. That is if Kako's bid is delayed. I'm going to talk about this more in a second. So that is one thing to watch out for. If it's early, both 28 and 31 will be used, but if it isn't, expect us to try and trade away one of those picks. In fact, it's all but confirmed that we'll be trying to do this, I believe. That means 28, 31, and probably 40 won't be used in the open draft. 46 could be thrown in there for a bid as well. So there's a good chance after Kako, we don't re-enter the draft for quite a while, or something I'll talk about more in a bit, we'll try and trade back into the draft, either in the first round or maybe in the late stages of the second, early third, as it was last year. I think a lot of what we will be doing with our draft hand relies on who is available at the time. So if a player is sliding down the order that we have our eyes on that we like, we may try and work out a way to pay a price to get them, trade back into the draft live to get them. So that is looking likely. Looking at that future hand, we obviously have less in the later stages, but we have a lot to work with early if we wanted to trade back in 2 first rounders, 1 tied to Melbourne, and likely to be a second rounder added to that as well live on draft night. So really, I'm just showing you guys all these trading options really quickly now before actually diving into them, and that's because I'm trying to reinforce the fact that our draft hand as it is now is not going to look anything like this by the end of Wednesday and Thursday night, and that's very exciting. It's going to be fun to watch, but it also means it's near impossible to preview our draft accurately or predict it accurately. Last year we were able to, between me and absolutely everything, those guys, I think we got 2 out of the 3 players that we drafted. I said we'd get Lamont Lawal. Those blokes had an inkling that we'd be able to get Nate Caddy. This year, we're obviously getting Kako and Nguyen, but because our draft hand is so malleable, I really don't know what we're going to do after that. We'll try and talk about that more, but first, let's get on to the academy blokes and when a bid will come. Alright, Kako. Now, lots is being made about him all year, really. Lots has been made about him, but especially since that Melbourne trade when we threw away our pick 9 to ensure it wouldn't get eaten up in a bid. Let me just say real quick, if Kako is bidded on after where our projected pick would be, it doesn't mean that that trade is a fail. In fact, if we held on to 9, clubs would have bidded earlier to make sure we pay up and move their higher picks closer together. In saying that though, word on the street now, according to Cal Toomey, is that St Kilda will be the club to bid on Kako with pick 10, apparently. This would be before our pick. If we kept it, it would have slid to 11. But the Saints are apparently going to bid on Kako quite early. What this means to our plans of trading, well, we can still trade away one of those second rounders. We just lose a lot more late capital because of it in matching the bid. 40 and 46, I believe, would both be gone. Now, this does give us a better chance, though, to trade back into the first round. The earlier, the better in that regard. It would give us more freedom if it's early. So Kako at 10 could actually be really handy for us as a club. And if it isn't 10, if Toomey is wrong, I would suspect Melbourne pull the trigger with their next selection, or maybe Richmond the one after that. So it's looking like Kako will either be gone at pick 10, 11, 12, or 13. One of those early teens picks is where we should expect a bid to come. And for those still wondering, we are definitely getting Kako. He'll be at Essendon next year. Alright, now we know roughly where Isaac Kako's bid will come, but what about Jayden Nguyen? This one is really unpredictable, and it might not even be talked about in the first 2 nights. There is every chance Jayden Nguyen slides to the rookie draft. I see clubs will bid on academy players early, like Kako, like Lombard, like Ashcroft. They'll make clubs pay for them, but late picks, they often just leave it for the club to settle out themselves because there's no real need to make teams, I guess, accountable for these selections. So there's every chance that we either have a plan to select Nguyen with one of our late open market picks, 53 or 65, whatever it is, like we did with Jayden Davey when we selected him in the draft. And that way we go in with a concrete plan as to how many players we select in between Kako being the first pick and Nguyen being the last. Or we just let Nguyen slide to the rookie draft and take him there. If a bid was to come for Nguyen, it would be very late. It would be past pick 40, past pick 50. I reckon between that 50 to 70 range. I'd be surprised if it's lower than that or earlier than that. So there is a lot of uncertainty for Nguyen. The later it comes, the better most of the time. We'll likely have another really late selection added in case a bid was to come, but this will all be sorted out on night 2, maybe even night 3. I'm pretty confident that we'll take Nguyen though. I think both Kako and Nguyen will be with us next year. And if you want to hear more about these players and their abilities and them as people, I have profile videos on both of them in the description down below. Alright, now we can, I guess, add a bit more dialogue onto that trade into the first round now that we've been linked to, that we know when bids will be coming for Kako. On screen is an example as to what a trade could look like, but warning, this is now looking more unlikely than likely. A few reasons for this. One, because teams won't really want to trade out of the first round unless it's for a substantial amount. And 2, because there will be about 5 or 6 other clubs trying to do exactly what we're doing and trying to trade into the first round. So we're going to be offering up that future first pick tied to Melbourne, I believe, to get inside that first round after a Kako bid, keyword after, because before the value just wouldn't be high enough for us to tempt teams. But in the mid to late teens of that first round, we will be trying to tempt teams with a cheeky live trade, only to secure a player we want though. So Rosa and his goons have conducted a little power ranking, and if a player high up their personal order is available at, let's say, 15 or 16, wherever it is, if clubs are passing on them, we will try to trade up to get them. The thought process here is Melbourne's future first could be a top 5, top 6 pick, but the player we would select if we traded up using it would be to us a top 10 pick based on our power rankings as a club. Even if they slid to 17 or 18, if they're our 9th favourite player, we would trade up to get them. They would be higher up on our personal order. That's the thought process there. So I'd be looking at guys like Harry Armstrong, Toby Travaglia, Job Shanahan, Taj Houghton. Those are 4 names I'm seeing pop up quite a lot, but as I said earlier in the video, I think I said it. If I didn't, I definitely meant to say it, but Essendon have been keeping their cards close to their chest, so it's a very hard situation to read, and that's good. It means that if we do try to trade up, clubs won't make us overpay because of how much they know we want the player available, if you get me. So as I said, this trade is looking really hard to get done. There are no guarantees that we sort this out. It's going to be interesting to watch though, and negotiate live, but no guarantees that we successfully do so. That is our plan though. Send across a future first to a team like Richmond or GWS, who are apparently listening to offers and have been all week, but they're not confirmed to be trading away that current capital yet. Okay, and now the more under the radar trade that we'll be conducting, but honestly just as interesting, because this gives us more options if it happens. So let's say it gets to pick 9 and a bid for Kako is yet to come. Essendon will have the calculators at the ready. After every pick, they'll know what the situation with the Kako bid is and how much they need to match based on our current picks. As soon as it gets to a stage where both second rounders are not needed and just one of them is, Essendon will act quickly and secure a trade to give it away to a club looking to enter that second round, and in return we will get a future second round pick. And that good news there is, like I said before, teams will be trying to get into the draft more than get out of it, so we will likely get more than whatever the pick we trade away costs. The club I'd be watching is North Melbourne. They have pick 2 and then nothing until the 60s. They will be eagerly trying to get involved, so they will be likely happy to give away their future second to us, which is, if they finish in the bottom 4 again next year, would be early in the very early 20s. So the fun thing about this, and that is if it happens, it gives us another chance to re-enter the draft through a live trade. We can then throw around our future second to teams later on if we have a player that we like the looks of who is sliding, and that's why it's so fascinating. Yes, we will trade out a second rounder for a future second rounder, but we then may trade out that future second rounder for even a third rounder, and it would still be a win if we did so, because the original pick that we traded out would be eaten up in a Kako bid if we kept it. That is why it's such a fascinating situation that we're going to be involved in. It's very Brisbane-like. They do stuff like this a lot, and I think there'll probably be another club trying to do the same thing as us, so keep an eye eye on the top 10. We may not be involved in picking players, but there's every chance we're trading during that period. Okay, so now all the trading news is done. You guys hopefully understand that a bit more. Let's look at some of the players we've been linked with. So again, we've kept our cards close to our chest, it's hard to know, but in the first round, there are a few whose names have been popping up. So Job Shanahan is one. He played a few games with our VFL team. The club's already had a good look at him, and he's projected to fall in that mid to late teens range, which is a good spot for our trade-in pick to be. Harry Armstrong is another. He's a key forward who fans are talking about a lot. Less links with the club, but he's going to slide a bit, it seems. Taj Houghton, now, not a very popular pick amongst you guys, but we've apparently spoken to him quite a bit in recent times, had a few interviews, and that is often an indicator that a club is keen on a player. He's got an ACL injury, so won't play much footy next year, but if he didn't do that knee, many would think he would have been an absolute lock for a top 10 spot on the first night of the draft. Toby Travaglia, Xavier Lindsay, maybe even Luke Traynor are others who keep popping up in my comments, but really I think the main ones I'm seeing and hearing externally are the three at the top there: Job Shanahan, Harry Armstrong, and Taj Houghton. I think trade up for either of those guys wouldn't surprise me. It seems the club might rate them highly. Now the latter stages of the draft, so there are a few more names popping up here for you guys to keep an eye on, most likely tomorrow night. So we obviously have James Barat, who we trialled with our VFL team late in the season. He could be a handy late second, early third round pick. Harry O'Farrell and Damon Hollow are both members of the Calder Cannons team, who we would have had at our facilities quite a bit this year, so you can keep a cheeky eye on them. Will Hoare, I know one commenter will be happy about this, but he's getting a fair bit of traction late into the piece. Collingwood and Geelong are both interested in him apparently, but so too Essendon, according to Fox Footy. Maybe it's because he's part of our VFL team, I don't know. But those four players are all linked because we've had the chance to play or train with them, Essendon. That is not this YouTube channel. But the next two are external players that I've heard a bit about in the last few days, or read a bit about in the case of Hamish Davis. According to Fox Footy, we are one of 4 or 5 clubs keen on the West Aussie big-bodied mid, so keep an eye on that late second, early third round option. And finally, one to watch maybe, but Lockie Jakes, Victorian rebound defender. I would think he is far too early into the draft for our second to third round range, but apparently we've kept an eye on him for quite a bit this season, so maybe if we were to trade up the order, that is who we get. Alright, prediction time. This is impossible, so don't take this as gospel. This is just a bit of silly fun, and also this relies on a lot to go our way and players to still be available for our picks. I think we will take 4 players on draft night. It's leaning towards that with our second round trade. I'm inclined to think we don't trade into the first round just because it may be too difficult to tempt teams away. I hope I'm wrong. It would be awesome if we do. So I think we take Isaac Kako at pick 10, like Cal Toomey says, and then I think it's all about the mid to late stages. I think we will likely be involved in a trade at some stage to take a player, and based on what I've seen and what I've heard from those in the media and experts around, James Barat could be that player. I think we probably take a key position player with our first open market pick after Kako, and Barat can play at both ends. The third selection, really tough again, but I think we might try and bring in another rebounding defender that can possibly have some versatility in other areas, just because Nguyen isn't really enough to cover depth this year. So I have us taking Harry Charlson with our third pick, before we either match a bid or select Jayden Nguyen with our fourth. Now again, last year I did a good job predicting who we took because that draft was actually easy to read, but this year it is impossible, so I'm definitely going to get most of these wrong. Just keep that in mind before you roast me in the comments. Alright, that is that. Cheers for watching, everyone. Enjoy tonight, enjoy tomorrow night, enjoy Friday night as well, rookie draft, that'll be fun. Plenty more videos to come this week, might even be some double uploads here and there. Exciting times for every club in the AFL and every fan, not just Essendon. Christmas for us nuffies, but that is all. Like, subscribe, comment down below who you want Essendon to take in the draft. Happy birthday, Rowan, and go Bombers.